Tales from the streets.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Street Tales. This one is a BJ and Tyler Team Panda edition.
Let's get it cracking. Let's get it cracking.
So in this episode, we're going to cover, we've had one of our mentors retire, but we'll get into that. But this episode, we're going to go over some defining moments in our law enforcement career, the importance of mental health, how officers evolve over decades of service, the role of technology in modern policing, and the changing dynamic between veteran officers and the next generation entering the profession, aka rookies. Yeah. So with that being said, do we want to do back and forth? Like, are we asking each other the question? Like, we both have an answer, kind of like how we do it on 56ing?
You can narrate. You can interview. We'll go off that.
Well, how about this? If the mood strikes you, hey, what was yours? So, like, question number one: what was your toughest day wearing the badge?
Man, there's always.
That means a lot, though. There's so many angles you could take. It doesn't mean a gruesome call. It could just be a rough day. It could be a shitty day where you felt really. I mean, I don't know. You could take that anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, to put it this way, right? There's tough days with the badge on, right? But I think some of those days are not necessarily related to the job, right? You could be going through something that has nothing to do with work, but it's still a tough day to be at work. So that could be like your toughest day, right? You have something significant happen in your personal life, and it's hard to go to work, right? For some of the people who know me personally, that know the story of my tattoo here and my dear friend Abby, right?
Is that what that's for?
Yeah. That's what that's for. That's it.
That's the other wrist. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
It was tough to go to work after that, right?
Hold on. So to clarify for those listening, so this wasn't even a call that you worked.
No.
This was your friend, partner, who unfortunately lost her life, domestic, who we've already covered that. We went into that. That's an interesting take. Okay. I didn't know you were going to go that way. Fair.
Right, so that's something. It was hard to go to work for a while after that.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
And that had nothing to do with the difficulties of the job. It was just, I don't want to be here because got something that's going on that is difficult to deal with, because this being here reminds me of this. So I don't really want to be here. Right. Throughout the course of your career, people, have, we could just say disciplinary stuff, if you will. It's very, very broad, right? You could have some sort of that also can make it very difficult to go to work, a hard time to go to work based off of that, right? You're dealing with some difficulties based off of that, hard to go to work.
Yeah.
I think mine was probably after my shooting, and it was probably the toughest part of that was because I couldn't go back to work, right? So sitting on the
I do want to save that. I want to save that dynamic for another episode, because I've been pondering it, because I've had two other people talk about it. But yes, it's fucking crazy how they treat deputies that are involved in not just shootings, but IAs, things like that, even if they become unfounded.
Yeah,
but fair. But I do.
But that was for me personally. That was probably the toughest one, because I could not go back to work. Right, so it's like, hey, I feel fine with what I did in my actions, even from the day of, right. But sitting there waiting, not being able to go back, is probably the toughest 3-4 months of my career, because it's like things are kind of up in there. But like I said, we'll get into that's another episode. We can get into the.
I do want to do that,
the intricacies of that, right? But
yeah,
for the question's sake, that was probably the toughest part, not being able to do what you're accustomed to doing for 15 years worth. It's like, okay, hey, you're gonna sit this one out. Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Fair. I'm gonna answer the question, and then I'm gonna answer a question I haven't asked you yet, but give you time to ponder it while I answer it. So my toughest day. So you got me thinking now. I'll just answer it the way I was going to answer it, but you made me think about some stuff. But it was a compilation of a lot of things happening on one day, and people don't believe me, because you were there and I talked to you about it. But I had a combination of personal and professional collide all at one time. And it's not the call you think, maybe, but my ex-wife and my kids had moved away. We'd separated. needed some time and distance. So I was alone. And that's when I had a 4-pack of eggs and 2 cans of green beans. And I remember I started my call, my right off the first call of the night was a teenage girl who had committed suicide. Brutal, devastating. Right after that, car crash with injuries, not fatal, but still brutal. Right after that was a domestic, which I ended up getting into a use of force. Arrested that guy, took him back. I had my we call it 40, but my lunch break, whatever. And I even remember talking to one of the sergeants. I was like, "Yo, this night, I've been on for like 4 hours, and I've had like 3 pretty like, like, hey man," and I'm not trying to get into that route, but they're just like, "Yeah, that's the job." Sometimes these days happen.
Yeah.
Immediately after that call, I got another domestic, got into another use of force. I had 2 use of forces in one night, plus all the other stuff, to the point my sergeant was like,
"Go home.
You're done."
Yeah.
But it was almost like I was in trouble. I was like, I did nothing wrong.
Yeah, no, I probably just
it was back to back to back. Like, it was pretty bad. And I actually think it was the lieutenant, because hey, Martin had another use of force. He's like, "Yo, what the hell?" He looked up the calls. He's like, "Oh, let's see. Well, he went on a suicide, a car crash with injuries, and 2 domestics back to back. Yo, he's done."
Yeah, you're done for the night, baby. Yeah.
He's done. It was old head lieutenant. You know what I'm talking about, before he retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that guy, bro.
Which is on point. Hey, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, young buck. Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah.
You're good for tonight. So that was bad, though. I remember, because I felt like I did something wrong. I was in trouble. I wasn't, by the way. Long story short, I would get in trouble for other stuff, but not that. But that was a really low point, because then when I went home, I was alone and I didn't have my kid. Personal and professional life were in turmoil. But now I want to flip it, because I want to transition to the next thing, but not on the low note.
Yeah.
Your best day, or that day where you were like, Now, the thing is this: I have personally had many. And you and I feel like I've had days where we got off shift and I was amped. I was pumped. Like, I was like, I'm a fucking cop. This is the shit. I did good in the world. I'm not a shitbag. I'm not a piece of shit. I know what I'm doing, and I feel rock solid. And I think the one I'll bring up, because it was the first time I kind of remember having that feeling. I've had many since then. Was that night that you and we were off FTO. We had already done all this training, extra training with Sharo. We did all these things. We were getting we felt like we were pretty good we knew our shit.
Yeah.
We were in the box. Robbery goes out. We saw where it was. We were 56ing with each other. You're like, "Yo, I'm going to go around the back. I'm going to come up through this." We had a whole thing, and it worked. We caught the guy in the middle, boom, 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 boom. And we took him down, and we arrested him, solved the robbery. And it was actually, I think he was
like a serial robber.
Yeah, he had multiple. Yeah, like the detectives were fired up. That was a pretty good one. I'll leave the last one is when Batman was like, "Y'all want to get into some shit?" And then we just went and caused chaos. We just were rolling in people's houses. All detectives. We were rolling with detectives, search warrants, but we were just boom, snatching bodies left and right. But we hit like 4 or 5 different apartments and arrested like 5 or 6 people. We were just boom, 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 guns and drugs. I was like, "Yo!" Those were some good days.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of those nights where it's like, yeah, this is like, this is the kind of stuff, like, this is why I signed up to, like, okay, I'm getting after it. I'm doing something. I feel like like you said, I'm making a difference, right? I'm putting back people in jail. People commit crimes. We're solving them. We're knocking them off. Right? It feels great. I think on the same line, right? I think, even though I said sometimes the shooting part was a not necessarily a negative, and don't get me wrong. Let me clarify this. I think with the shooting, not best day because the shooting took place, right? But in the sense of, like, okay, training kicked in. I did, it's like you something presented itself and you were able to step up to the plate and get things done. and do it
Mhm.
properly and do it whatever. So it's like, okay, yeah. So like, not that I ever really had imposter syndrome, right? But it's like, okay, I know when things hit the fan, I've done what I needed to do to be prepared,
Yeah.
right? So that's always a good feeling that, hey, a challenge was presented to me and I stepped up to the plate and I did what I needed to do. Um, and I did my part, right? But
Mhm.
I think over time, over my career, I think that the best day has looks a little bit different at different stages of your career, right?
Mhm.
So now looking over the totality of my career, I think some of my most fun best days were in the beginning when we're running and gunning and doing all the other stuff, right? But like, you know, as my career has progressed, I've transitioned into other things. Like doing the bomb stuff is great, bro. It's a lot of fun. It's like, hey, we got this call out, we went to this call out, to this call out, and we, put the suit on, we did all this. So it's like when you get to train and then what you're training for comes up and you produce, like that,
Mhm.
and to me, it's like that's the best feeling. And obviously work related, we're talking about work, but like just in life in general, right?
Yeah. So within that same vein, basically the nexus is this, like, over the course of your time, do the good calls outweigh the bad? And then even if they do or don't, how do the bad calls affect you over the totality of your career?
Mm, I think the good always outweighs the bad, right?
Hope so.
The good always outweighs the bad, right? If
Yeah.
you as a some sort of like as a metaphor, right? Even if you're in a dark room, right, the
Mhm.
smallest light is a beacon in the darkest room, right? So the good all to
Mhm.
me always outweighs the bad.
That's true.
Um, and I put it like this, especially when I'm talking to young guys now, right? They're like, we don't say the Q word, during the course of the evening, you know what I mean? But like
Mhm.
they don't have the perspective, right, of a long career to understand like, hey, when the radio's silent, enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
Don't go kicking shit up because there's gonna be those days where it's back to back to back to back, and it never stops. It's this after
Yeah.
this after this. Like you said, one of your worst days. Like it was this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. Those days happen, right? So it's
Mhm.
like when it's slow and you have the ability to kind of sit there and kind of just take a
Mhm.
chill pill, relax, maybe 56 with your people, you have some camaraderie, take advantage of that because that doesn't happen, right? So those highs and those lows, are kind of few and far between, and it does level out. Um, but I think see, that's another one too. It's like I don't know if the bad days do stick out just as much as the good days as well,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
they both stick out just as much as the other.
We'll transition into the mental health and longevity, but first responders all understand. Some civilians don't ever think about it, and unfortunately, with today's culture, they don't give a shit.
Mm,
Just call it what it is. But when you're, especially, I mean, I keep saying especially in law enforcement, but honestly, any of it, your personal shit will magnify the shit that you're dealing with.
mm,
And like to have a calm, stable, peaceful home, it, it, it's almost like you can't put into words how important that is. To
Ready?
be able to come home to peace
Hmm.
when it's not there and you've just dealt with whatever we're just talking about now and you're feeling it or you had a bad day with the bosses or whatever the fuck's going on. Because there's been many bad days, you know, I'm talking I
Yeah,
was talking with Mo on one of the
yeah,
last episodes about the amount of car crashes where it caught on fire and the people were still alive, and
mm,
it's like, yeah, I've seen that more than once.
yeah,
I'm not saying I've seen 100, but more than once.
yeah. But just once is
Once is
once
horrifying,
is
haunt your
w-
dreams,
yeah, once is plenty.
or dead bodies or the
Yeah.
things that you can see, and then you go home and you've gotta deal with you gotta be a dad, a husband, a father, or
Hmm.
whatever you got going on.
Yeah.
It can compound. So with that being said, something I wasn't very cognizant of, bro, we're having hard time with
Yeah.
cognizant and
Uh,
camaraderie today.
bro,
So good stuff and bad stuff,
make sure my
bro. CTE's kicking in, bro.
Yeah, dang.
Um, but we never talked about mental health and shit when I was a deputy. We didn't really talk about it when I was a trooper. It's
Mhm,
really big on the Fed side, and
mhm,
it wasn't until really we started doing this podcast stuff that, and I talked to so many people and different professionals. I was like, yeah, I probably should have talked to somebody a lot sooner than I
yeah,
did.
yeah,
But it wasn't something we did. We never talked about it to my memory. I mean, we went to the little calls, those
yeah,
little conferences or whatever,
mhm.
but you're just
After
like, "Bro,
actions and
whatever."
stuff like that,
Yeah.
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 Um, yeah, I think probably right around the time we started is when maybe there was maybe a concerted effort to kinda, like, make a push
Yeah.
in the profession to kinda, like, say, "Hey," I guess to kinda try to maybe I guess put it this way, maybe to remove the stigma of going to talk to someone,
Mhm.
right? There's kinda always been a little bit of a stigma, I think because it is, not because it's a male-dominated profession, but because the profession in of itself doesn't really allow for your personal mental health stuff to kind of be a part of it, right? There's really no
Mhm.
time not that it doesn't matter, right? So let me let me clean this up. Not that it doesn't matter and not that your agency thinks that it doesn't matter, right? But in the course of your shift, there is rarely very, very little time for you to have that time to process what you're seeing or what's happening, right? Because you do have to kind of, I guess, kind of push it to the side or compartmentalize it for the moment, right? Because
Mhm.
s- things need to get dealt with, right? It's like, look at, this was as a supervisor, this is my first time being on this side of it, right? We had a call a couple weeks ago, missing, missing child, about 5 years or so, autistic, goes missing. They ended up finding him in a lake in a pond, pull him out, and trying to do CPR. So I got all these young deputies here who are probably this is
Mm.
probably their first time seeing something of this nature, right?
Mhm.
Trying to do CPR on a juvenile who's clearly probably
Yeah.
not going to make it, right? But you still got to they'll still got to try, right?
Yeah.
And I went to the hospital with two of the other young ones, right? So it's they're I've been to the hospital before. I've been in the hospital before, so like the hospital is not an unfamiliar place to me.
Mhm.
But watching them kind of like work on this tiny little body and probably realizing it's probably not gonna be good. I'm kind of like checking on them, like, "Hey, are you okay? It, it's okay to not be okay. Like I know that was tough. Like it's hard. I know you guys are young, not just in your career, but like you're young in life. Like this is heavy. This is difficult." Um,
Mhm.
so it was, we as a group, we have our after actions and peer support and all that kind of stuff. But I can remember in the beginning of my career, I was going to therapy on the on my off time anyway, right? So
Mhm.
that's not uncommon for me to go do and talk to. And then again, we would talk about stuff amongst ourselves, but I think in the last 15 years, I have noticed a different push to kind of make that more of an important thing and kind of remove that stigma. Like, yo, it's cool to talk about it. That shit is difficult. Like you're seeing things and doing things that people aren't supposed to be seeing and probably will never see in their
Mhm.
lifetime. They don't have like they're not exposed to these kinds of things. And to be honest, human beings shouldn't be exposed to these kinds of things. It shouldn't. A lot of things that we're seeing shouldn't be happening in the world at all in general,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
hard. It's difficult.
You're seeing law enforcement, well, again, I keep saying, first responders in general.
Hmm.
You're seeing that person or that family's worst day of their life, but you see that multiple times throughout the day, compounded multiple times throughout the week,
Hmm.
the month, the year, years, decades. That shit's wild
Yeah.
because people will talk about the loss of a loved one for years.
Yes.
And there's been so many, I don't even remember all the ones I went to.
No.
Right?
No.
Think about that shit.
Yeah.
That is wild, bro.
I can't tell you how many.
Mm-mm.
Can't tell you how many. How many? Like it's like how many? Put it this way, it's like how many times have you seen somebody take their last breath?
A lot. And I don't even know how many.
Yeah. I can't. I couldn't
There's
tell
some
you.
that stand out, but yeah,
Yeah.
many, many times.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot more that if you read the call, you'd be like, oh yeah, I do remember that, right? But
Yeah.
I've actually
Mhm.
probably subconsciously have tried to put that out of my mind because I don't want to think about that, right?
Yeah.
Or the other side of it, death notifications. Right? That shit can weigh on you.
Oh,
So like to me, that is something that I don't know if you can't really teach for that. You can't prepare somebody for that. Um,
no.
but doing those to me, I think so. To me, that's probably the worst part of the job is that.
Yes.
And
100%.
people react how they react.
Wildly
You
different
never
ways.
know how someone's going to react to that kind of news.
Mhm.
Is it expected? Was it not expected? Was it, hey, this person's been sick for a while. We kind of figured we haven't heard from them. They were, a grandparent that's 90. We haven't heard from them for a couple of days. Like you kind of, you know what I mean. But it's different than like a small child. Or,
Yeah.
bro, I shit you not. Same day as the small child call later that evening. 20-year-old girl accident loses her life.
Yeah.
Not even 4 hours later. It's like that shit is sad to see. And then like somebody's got to go talk to their family and be like, hey, I'm really sorry I had to tell you this, but the person you thought was had that did have the rest of their life ahead of them. That
Mhm.
hopefully has lived a long prosperous life. It's been cut short
Yeah.
like that. Like that's the shit
Again,
that shit that'll make you get off work and go hug your loved ones.
oh, bro, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, a
Because
few
that
times
shit,
I've done that for sure.
yeah, that shit is,
I've talked about it on the show a few times because it still bothers me. It
yeah.
stays with me. The dad that his wife went to the grocery store with his wife and his 3 kids. They were all gone from a crash, and he just rolled up, and just the way he screamed and fell down, I was like,
Yeah.
that was his whole family's gone. I was like,
Gone.
bro,
Done. Bro, in an
it still
instant.
makes me wanna cry.
Yeah.
So supervisor now, because 'cause I've never
Mhm.
been one, what advice would you give officers who are, it says struggling, but
Mhm.
my thing is, I'm really big on the preventive, but what would you give advice to officers who are struggling today as they're listening to this?
Go talk to somebody, right? Find an outlet. And it doesn't, and I know obviously there's a stigma, like you don't want to talk to people from your
Mhm.
agency, right? Because, you don't want it to, not that you don't want to seem weak, right? But you don't want that to ever be called into question as to why you're making a decision
Mhm.
or why you're doing what you're doing, right? So
Yep.
I understand not wanting to go to something, that's connected to the agency, but okay, cool, fine. Make the effort to go on your own and talk to somebody that you trust, that you can confide in, right? And say, hey, it's okay to have these tough days. Um, on the other side of it, like I said, it's supervisor wise, I stress to the guys all the time and gals all the time, hey, take care of yourself. I tell them all the time, listen, physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared to do this job. Those are the 3 aspects you got to take care of.
Mhm.
When the time comes, you need to be you need obviously physically prepared, right? And then in the aftermath, emotionally and mentally prepared to, or sometimes even before, mentally and emotionally prepared to do what needs to be done, and after to deal with what you have to do on the physical side. It is
Yeah.
it is important. I don't know if it's across the board talked about, because you can't, obviously you can't plan for everything. Like, hey, y- you know, there's people who go their whole careers and never have to pull their gun out or take their taser out, do whatever. And I hope and pray that that's everybody's career, right? But
Mhm.
statistically speaking, that is not going to happen, right?
Mhm.
So if and when that day comes, you need to be prepared. And that's important
Yes.
to even talk about, right? And I tell these guys all the time, hey, take care of yourself. Doing this job has taught me life is very fragile. Tomorrow's not obviously not promised, right? So we have to be grateful and thankful for the time that we do get, right? Nobody knows nobody knows the day or the hour of their finishing on this, whatever you believe in. Nobody knows, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But what we can agree on is that we're here right now, and that it's not going to be forever. Um, but doing this job has taught me, like, on a more, it comes to the forefront of my mind more than it does maybe for other people on a regular basis in their little bubble, and it does change my decision making because it is in the forefront of my mind. Right? There's some things where it's like I don't want to get involved in that because I know the possibilities, the worst thing that could happen with that, and I don't really want to go down that route.
I'll say this for everyone listening, especially first responders: the job's not worth your life or your family.
No.
It's not worth it.
No.
It's just not.
Mhm.
And I was lucky in the fact that I figured that out before I lost my
Yeah.
divorce, but I didn't lose my relationship with my kids,
Mhm.
um, or my life. So
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, that's we've come to a place in our lives where, um, especially in my personal group, law enforcement wise, people that I know in the job, right? In our 40s now, are in that age range, right? Where their kids are getting a
Mhm.
little older and they're realizing like, hey, I recently had a buddy of mine was like, hey man, I don't want to go to this unit. I don't want to do these other undercover things. I don't want to do these things. To me, I'd rather I'd rather be on patrol and spend the extra time with my family, with my kids. And I like my son
Mhm.
is in that transformational age grade. He's a teenager now. Like these are very, very important years and I don't want to miss things. And my time with them is way more like whatever extra money you could get or whatever isn't really worth missing the time that you can't get back.
No.
It's probably not.
And I think this is a good tie-in for next topic, which is technology and law enforcement,
Mm,
because it helps with time, be more efficient. So you're not sitting out there, doing surveillance for 72 hours trying to wait for somebody to move.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, that's just, we'll get into that. But
yeah.
how has technology changed policing since you started? And let me preface it with this. When we started,
Mhm.
we still had,
But we had
I
handwritten
still,
CRAs.
we still had handwritten CRAs. I still had the Nextel, the chirp, 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 chirp.
Mhm.
We were still doing that on my Sprint plan. We did not have body cameras.
Oh,
We did when we started, we didn't have the vehicle cameras.
oh,
Nope, we did not. I'm trying to think because like certain units did, DUI units, traffic units did.
yeah.
Because yeah, and they
They
didn't
had
have
the
it, but
in
just
the
regular
car, yeah.
patrol did not.
Mm-mm.
I'm trying to think. Hold on, what else has changed? Oh, dude, I
The
remember
AI.
when they rolled in ShotSpotter. So it was before
Mm.
ShotSpotter.
Before, yep.
It was before the camera unit, whatever you guys call that now.
Oh, yeah, the
No
real-time crimes,
drones.
yep, no drones,
There was
none of that.
none of that stuff, bro.
Mm-mm. Hell, you didn't even really have the camera on the helicopter per se. You didn't have it recording. You didn't have it to where you could watch it on an
Yeah, no,
app. What
no,
you weren't able to see the
no.
what the helicopter was seeing in real time.
Yep. They had
Yeah.
to relay
They had to
what
relay
they
to
were
you.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
And we still had the old school Crown Vics, which I do still miss.
Which is a great car.
Still stand by one of the best cop cars I
Mm.
ever had.
Mhm.
Loved that thing. Anywho,
Yeah, yeah.
so that is where we started. Now, sir, where are we now?
Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
I mean, obviously the technology is made to obviously to make our lives more convenient, right?
Mhm.
But just just like in every day with everything else, at what cost, right? So some things are highly beneficial. Like I said, when we started, we had to handwrite CRAs. People were like, we have
Awesome.
such good handwriting. I was like, trust me, I didn't when I started this. But when you feel the pain of writing a handwritten CRA for
And
30 minutes,
kickback.
and then you have it kicked back because I can't read this or you have a mistake, you should learn how to write.
Woo!
You learn how to write better and be more efficient in your writing, right?
Real quick.
When you had to hold on to the fucking copies, all of that shit, right? But now we have the electronic CRA. It's easy to, hey, make a change, pull it back, make a change, add this attachment. Super, super easy. I don't have to drive across the county to see my supervisor to get him to sign
It's
it.
also true. I forgot about
You
that.
know
You
what
had
I
to
mean?
go
Like
meet with them
we
to
had to go
sign it.
meet with them to sign it, right? So like things like that, obviously way more
Yeah,
convenient. You could just
yeah,
send it to the booking clerk and they'll get it, and it's super, super convenient, right? Those things are great. The body
yeah.
cameras, whether what people think about them, they're more of a help than they've been a hindrance, right?
Mhm,
They've exonerated more people from IA complaints and all kinds of stuff, and it gives you an opportunity to really get a different vantage point of what people are saying, right? So I think all in
mhm,
all, it's a good thing. I know there was some pushback from people at the beginning of it, but I personally think it's a good idea. Um, the cameras while you're driving, the shot spotter, all these kind of things are meant to make the job easier, help you as a tool, right? But I will say this, and what I've noticed is kind of at what cost, right? We know the before times, if you
yeah,
will, right? We know the
yeah,
before times when we didn't have it. It is a tool to us. My concern in my
Oh,
viewpoint
yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah.
viewpoint now is people who are starting with it. What happens when this goes down? Do they know how to write a hindrance area? Do they know how to, review things or how to look things like
Shit,
it's
bro, how to get to where they're going without the,
bro,
live turn by
that
turn GPS, yeah.
bro, that is another one.
We had to learn the maps.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But
Yeah,
because people use GPS or so
all the
readily
time.
now, but like you said, we had to know where we were going. I mean, we grew up in an age where you had to print out MapQuest before you left somewhere. We were going somewhere, right?
Yeah,
So like they're like, how do you
yeah,
know where you're going and what street is this and what area is this? I was like, because I had to drive it. I drove it and
yeah.
looked at the map. And it's like, okay, this street connects to this street. This doesn't connect to this. This is where I am. Matter of fact, I didn't understand how to read street signs or street numbers until I became a cop.
Yeah, with the left and right
Le
side, north and
Yep,
south, east
north
and
and
west,
south,
all
east and
yeah,
west, or
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Center, like, what is the center
Evens
line
on
of the
this side,
city?
odds on
Even
this
on
side,
this side,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
What constitutes west this street
yeah,
versus east this street, right? So
yeah.
things like that, where it's like you're looking at generationally. I know this ties into some of the stuff other stuff we're talking about, right? But I'm wondering how much of the technology is going to be a crutch and how much is it going to be a tool, right? There's maybe a fine line between a crutch as a tool and a crutch as a hindrance for you to actually get better and be able to walk on your own 2 feet,
Let me ask you this, because I've been gone from local law enforcement for, 10 years now.
Mhm.
And again, it's not like you and I were super special, high speed, low
Yeah,
drag. Some nights we were, but not
yeah.
in general. Everyone we worked with was like this, and what I'm about to say. You could hear the call, the type of call in the street, and you knew exactly who it was.
Mhm.
Is it still like that?
I think for the ones who are paying attention, yes, right?
Okay.
Kind of like, hey, you hear the, whatever, whatever. Okay, all right, yeah, this is probably this. We get this a lot over in this area. These are the players in this area. Um, so if you're working that area for a while, especially the ones who've been there for a while, like they've been there, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, a year. You go so frequently, you have no choice but to know
Yeah.
what's what over there. If like I said, if you're just paying attention, you're gonna know. Um, yeah, we'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Because I remember, dude, I still remember off Puritan Road behind that gas station. I was like,
Mhm,
boop, I know who that is. If it was on Trout Street, it was in the fishbowl. It was this
mhm,
person. If it was off Bass Street, it's this person. Like
mhm.
you just like, ugh. Because a lot, and it would help because you'd be driving there and you'd see him, but hey, get over
Yep,
here.
yeah. Oh,
What,
hey,
you
hey,
what are you
hey,
doing, bro? What
yeah,
happened? What
yeah.
happened?
And especially too,
They're always
like you said,
calling the police on me. I'm like, I
like if
know.
like if you know the area, right? You're like, hey, there's only
Yeah,
one way in and one way out of here,
yeah.
or there's
Mhm.
one way in and the other way out of here. So you're like, hey, I'm gonna come from the other side and be like,
And I will say GPS will let you fail you because I got in trouble dumbly. I still disagree with the trouble, but I was going to an area I'd never, it's wild to me that Hillsborough County still has like rural,
mhm,
like it's crazy. You go from high condensed population to like, where in the fuck am I? I can't see shit. And it was a deputy who had hit the red button.
mhm.
I saw a dot in a field. And
Yeah,
I'm
you're like,
like, so I'm
yeah,
trying to, there's no lights, there's nothing. And I had all my whites on. I was trying to
mhm.
see and I saw a house. Well, I couldn't figure out how to get there. So I just drove through the dude's yard. You remember that? And the corporal got mad at me because he's like, you
Yeah.
could have busted up his septic tank. Blah, blah. I was like, what? I said, I would drive through that fucker's house. There's a deputy in trouble in there.
Yep, yep, yep.
But GPS doesn't always, it will
Mhm.
fail you.
Yeah,
It's-
well, I will say this now you got, technology-wise, I can pull up your camera and see what's happening if that's happening. I can pull it up.
Ooh.
It's supervisors and, you can't just be pulling up
Yeah.
people's cameras randomly, right? But if someone's
Yeah.
in emergency,
What's
if
going
I'm
on?
driving, I can call, "Hey, dispatch, hey, pull up their camera. What's happening?
That's
What's
dope.
going on?" And they're
That's
in
dope.
emergency status. What is going on? What's happening? Right? Which is great, right? For the but it's
Yeah. Hopefully he's not racked out with a burger in his hand.
yeah,
Huh?
you know what I
Oh,
mean?
that's
So
me. My bad. My bad.
yeah, right, right. So you hope that you're not not that anybody would be, right? But you hope you're doing what you're supposed to be doing,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that don't get you hemmed up. But it usually, like I said, technology is there to be a tool to assist you and help you. But I think
I want to talk about some other things that have changed since you and I started.
Mhm,
Drones is a big one. I do want to do an episode about drones specifically.
mhm,
I've reached out to I have 2 people that I know that have gone into the drone industry, but now
mhm.
I guess whatever's going on is they won't talk about it because I guess drone technology is advancing so quickly.
Yes.
They're like, by the time I tell you about it, it's already old,
Yeah,
or I don't want to tell you about what we're working on because there's like 1,000 other drone
yeah.
companies that have tried to take
It's
it.
very proprietary. Yeah, 100%.
Woo! So they won't
Yeah,
talk about it,
yeah.
and the way they use it and all this other stuff. It's almost like investigative techniques. They don't want you talking
Mhm,
about those things.
yeah,
Drones are a big one. We were talking about license plate readers. Were we talking about that? Were we
yeah.
recording? When we were
No,
talking about that?
we weren't. This is off
Oh
top.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
when those rolled out and
yeah.
everyone was like, "Oh, this is awesome," until you're trying to eat your burrito
And
and
then
it's like,
boom,
"Oh, stolen
boom,
car, stolen car." You're like,
boom.
"Oh shit," because it doesn't turn off.
Yep.
And then if
Yep.
you don't go, they're like, "Hey, bro,
Why don't you go to
you
that?
had like 15 stolen cars tonight. You didn't
And check
nothing.
one? What's
You
up?
didn't see what's going on.
Yeah.
What are you doing?" Yeah. So anyway, I remember that one rolled out. AI, which I don't think we can actually talk about how it's being used. I don't think
Probably not.
so. I don't think
Probably not.
so.
Yeah.
It will make things much more efficient though. So this is the point I was going to make about the
Yeah.
deputy who's like, "Hey, I want to spend more time with my family." Because a lot of specialty unions, a lot of the stuff that they're doing that takes so
Mhm.
many man hours is because investigating crime is fucking difficult. And if
Yes.
you've paid any attention to any court cases, things that are getting overturned, appealed, people who are getting off, I could go on a fucking tangent. I will not. So you have to do it's a lot of man hours and
Mhm.
legwork and report writing and which listen, I can't remember who it was, if it was Charo or Rodriguez, but they're like, I can't remember. See, this sucks. I can't remember who told us this, but they're like, you're taking someone's freedom away.
It was
Do your
Rodriguez.
job.
Yeah.
Do your job. You should be a professional.
Mhm.
This law enforcement is the only profession. Now that is one thing. Law enforcement is the only profession they can take your freedom away.
Mhm.
Why? I mean, yes, you have to have evidence and all that, but at the end of the day, it's because I said so.
Yeah.
Like that's really where it's at, bro.
Which I try to
To
stress
be a
to the young deputies.
oh,
So like I said,
yeah.
this was and like I said,
Don't
this is
make
something that
bad case law, bro.
we'll get into, right? We'll get into it in
Yeah.
some, but you know, he does one thing he said, two things he said. Hey, don't be out here making bad case law. And
Mhm.
two, very importantly, you give you a badge and a gun and the ability to take away people's civil liberties. Do not play around with that. That is very, very serious.
Not a
And
game, bro.
it's not a game, right? So when people are like, oh, just hook them for whatever. I'm like,
No,
no, no,
bro.
no, 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 no,
No,
no,
that
no,
is
no, no,
not
no,
the
no, no, no,
answer.
no, no. I was like,
Fuck
you have
no.
the like what your decision and your discretion sometimes has a very, very lasting effect on this person's future based off of the decisions that you make and how you interpret what you're looking at,
You
evidentiary
can
wise.
destroy their
You can
whole
destroy their whole
life.
shit, right?
Yeah.
And this is why you know me, I don't love slippery slopes, right? But to me, a lot of things are slippery slopes, right? And it should be all roads should be both ways, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, well, just because I'm like, listen, and this was one thing. Hey, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Having discretion, a little bit of common sense, and humanity goes a long way. It's like
Humanity, bro.
you would want if you made a mistake, you would want that same level of grace and whatever. Right now, completely different. If you just put a gun in somebody's face for no reason, that's not what we're talking about, right? But a kid who's never been in trouble before, had a little bit of weed, you're gonna just
Got a
oh,
vape pen.
you're gonna right, it's like, are
Oh,
you really
bro, we
gonna
talk about those things.
you're
Yeah.
gonna you're gonna hear him on that, or somebody's got a warrant. You're gonna go to his job and arrest him or her at her job at their
Now
job.
now I will say this. I would say typically don't do that unless it's
Yeah.
a violent crime or something like that. But I have had to do that. I can't wait till I could talk about this case. We're gonna do a whole brief on it. I cannot wait. It's gonna be so great. It
Hmm.
might be a two-parter because it's that much shit going on. And it wasn't all about me, but I feel like I need to capture it because it
Hmm.
took so much of my life
Yeah.
to investigate these people. But the only time that I'm aware of, Secret Service, I had to do a warrant for a witness who refused to
Mm.
appear before a grand jury. I can't even remember what it's called. It's not a failure to appear because you've already been arrested. That's like the
Yeah. That's
marshals.
what
But
is that? The writ of bodily attachment? One of those?
I can't remember what it is. when we do the brief on it, I'll talk about it.
Mhm.
But I had to go to his job and arrest him, and they're like, they're like, what? He didn't commit a
What a
crime.
crime.
He is a witness, and he is refusing
He's
to
he's been
appear
he's been subpoenaed and does not show up.
multiple
Yep.
times. And then his mom called me, which always makes me laugh. I'm like, your man is 30 something years old.
So what?
And she's like, I didn't know y'all was for real, for real. Yes, we're
Yeah,
for
so
real.
for real. Yeah.
And then I would always I still love to this day, especially now where I work now. I am special agent with the United States Secret Service. Why the FBI up in here? Well, that's all right. That's where we're going.
It's like, okay, all right. I
But
didn't say that, but
but
okay.
yeah, so but I will. The point I'm trying to make is that is like like a last resort before you just try to mess up this person's whole life.
Yeah.
But once again, violent crime, shit like that, totally different. Go grab them where you got to grab them. But
Yeah.
some people get People get warrants for some dumb shit.
Yeah. It's like, hey, yeah.
Digital evidence, which I'm going to include crypto in. How do you store that? How do you account for that? They've had to create whole new methodologies for that
Mhm.
because it used to be you just take the cash, it's in evidence or whatever.
Yeah. You can't.
Now it's in the ether, bro.
Yeah. How we seizing said
Yeah.
assets or non-assets? What are we doing?
Social media.
Yeah.
Woo! Well, social media, one, as a con for first responders, careful what you post, who you
Of
like,
course.
who you repost, like, all
Of
that.
course. Of
But
course. Of
also
course.
investigative tools,
Mhm.
all these things. And I will say, same case, didn't end up doing it, but I could not get in touch with this witness by any other means. But she was a very popular influencer.
Mhm.
And I was like, could I serve a subpoena through her Instagram, like a DM?
Hmm.
It did spark a conversation because we're like, interesting.
Interesting.
Because the Secret Service does have, because one is like, how would I serve it? It's not gonna be mine, my personal.
Mhm.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Do you serve it through the agencies? Do you serve it? Does
Mm.
the DOJ have one? They do, by the
Hmm.
way, but they're like, it's not for that. And then and
Hmm.
then because when you do a DM, you can see red, right?
Yeah.
So you could be like, hey, served. Never been
Oof.
done to my knowledge.
Yeah. Ooh,
But I'm
that's
like,
interesting.
but if you can't find them because they're always bouncing around, you don't know their phone number.
Very, very interesting.
See, outside the box, bro. That's what gets me in
Mm.
trouble. Real-time intelligence. This is another thing where it's like the helicopters with the
Yeah.
cameras, like you're saying, where you can pull up somebody's camera while they're actively doing it. I
Mhm.
know the cameras on all the street corners and businesses, those are
Yep.
all becoming wired in. I do have thoughts on that we'll talk about another day.
Mhm.
Don't know how I feel about that.
Mhm.
I think I am a fan of cameras. Yes. I don't know how I feel about having law enforcement have the ability to just whoop, override and take over your shit so they can see what they want to see.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
They do that shit in London, bro.
That's
That's where I first experienced it to that scale, the entire city.
Mhm.
They're like, "Oh, what do you wanna see?" Boop, 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 boop. And I was like,
You're
"Oh,
like, what?
I don't
Ooh. Ooh. I don't know
mm-mm."
if I wanna
Yeah.
ugh, mm.
Well, all right. Well, moving it on though. Has technology improved officer safety and accountability in your opinion? I think this is actually only a question I don't
Yeah.
really know
Yeah,
on
of
my
course.
side.
Yeah, I think it has, right? You get, like I said, just the example I gave a minute ago, right? Some guy's in a fight, do whatever, you know what I mean? You can pull it up
Yeah.
literally to the fucking millimeter of where the camera's at, right? So you don't get the general
Yeah.
area thing, right? So you have so for, car GPS, camera GPS, computer GPS, right? So there's all these things that kind of like for officer safety and accountability as well, right? So it's like, you know, i- if you say, hey, uh, I was working at, I came in at 8 and you didn't come in at 8 and you said you put on your time sheet, you came in at 8 and
That's on you.
that's what, all right. So it does, there's some accountability, that they're looking at with that, right? So not that people are being dishonest, right? But there's that part of it, right? So you could say it's not like, hey, like I said, but also at the same time it exonerates a lot of people, right? So you could say, hey,
Mhm.
this deputy or this officer, uh, spit in my face on a traffic stop. You're like, well, I'm watching the video that didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, it was before it kicked on. Well, I've been watching it since 30 seconds before he got out of his car.
Like
So,
what? You know what I mean? So I think it does. I think it serves the purpose that it's intended for.
Mhm.
I think it's a good thing.
Would you agree with this statement? The vast majority of one deputies that you have worked with, but I would say officers that I've worked with at large scale are all trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I would say that.
They are they have high level of integrity, they're
Mhm.
honest, vast majority.
Yeah, I would say that.
But you and I also know certain deputy
Mhm.
who would drive through a neighborhood where a domestic in progress is occurring and clear it with notes.
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck?
Having never gone there.
Yeah,
Oh,
hey, again, but that's where the accountability comes in. It's like, hey,
yeah,
you you said this, you cleared this, but the thing shows that you didn't even
you didn't even go
you
there.
didn't go there. So what's up?
Yeah.
Right? So like there's that
You
part of
drove
it.
by that address at 45 miles an hour.
Mhm. Right? There's no
Yeah,
yeah. So it's
yeah.
yeah. Like but
Mhm.
um but here too, there's another thing you can and again, there's lots of things and we've talked about this, at length offline, especially even early in our career, right? So now it's like they can see in the calls or reviewing body cams because I have to review body cams now, right? A big thing for me too is decorum and how you talk to people, right? So you
Mm.
can see now body cam, right? So it's like, hey, there's a complaint. Hey, this officer, this deputy is racist. We'll just go with that one. That's a very general one. No, they treated me differently for whatever reason. Now you can't I can't confirm that, right? Is it possible? Yes. Can I say that with certainty? In most cases, no, right? But I can review their body cams and say, hey, on these particular calls, the suspect or the arrestee was this demographic or was this demographic was, hey, they only, you know, all the complaints are of women, of young women between the ages of, 18, 25. That seems to be the only ones you arrest. And they all have this complaint, right? All the men that you arrest don't have this complaint. Or what? So I can go back and review and be like, hey, what's going on with this? Or like, hey, you speak to this demographic differently. You speak to this demographic. What's up with that? Like, what's going on? Right. So obviously, it's a little bit more. Takes a little bit more time, right? So, but I think the body cam thing does give you a little bit of more of an insight. Before it's like sometimes you can't really read between the numbers, right?
Mm.
How we talked about before, right? We've talked about this on the show before. It's like, hey, when you have we were talking about the bike light thing that
Mhm.
TDB got hemmed up for.
Mhm.
Hey, you guys are
Mhm.
only stopping black people with in serving getting tickets, no bikes, or the bike light thing. Like I said, that in and of itself obviously is not
For those who don't
right.
recall, BJ and I had this debate because I said, "No, that's not true." I don't know that it was necessarily just one race, but it was socioeconomic for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
Certain
that
areas.
was to cover. That was the claim that people were making.
Oh, got it.
People were saying that TBD is racist because they were
Got
only
it.
doing this in this demo. Right. Whatever. Go ahead.
But I will we'll recap it. We have already
Yeah.
talked about it on the show. So I said, "That's bullshit, bro. The law is the law." And you were like, "Nope, it's how you enforce it." And I said, "That's bullshit. You're wrong." And he's like, "All right, go do that shit up in Avila." So the difference being in the box and in the fishbowl, everybody rides a bike. There's no lights. Nobody has a license ID on them. It's a common mode of transportation.
Hmm.
You go up to some of the more affluent areas. Those are the ones where they're on a $2,000
Road bike.
Cannondale bike with the
Yeah.
Trek suit on or whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying, but they're in the full bike outfit.
Hmm.
Guess what? They don't have their ID on either. They also run stop signs and don't follow the traffic law. So I was like, boom. I made 2 bike stops before my sergeant said, "What are you doing? Get out of there right now." I was like,
Stop.
"What?" And so I had to pull up to you and go, "Yeah, I guess you're right, bro." It lasted 2 bike stops. I was
Two.
like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna prove you wrong."
I was like, ah. It's like, okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Right. So, but now with
I
the
will say I wrote both of those guys a ticket though,
as you
because
should have,
they were running stop signs.
as you should have,
And they didn't have their ID on them.
as you should,
Yeah,
as you
I
should.
absolutely did, and that's
Yeah.
why a certain
That's why you
sergeant got
got
mad at me.
that's why you got a phone call because
He's
they
up here
made
writing
phone
me
calls.
tickets.
Yeah, they made phone calls to people who work in certain places, and they're like, "Hey, stop
Mhm.
doing, stop doing
What are
that."
you doing?
Yeah,
Get out of there.
quit.
I did love those calls. I'd get those calls from supervisors. I got that call from the chief intake attorney for the State Department or the state attorney's office, because I started charging domestic violence perpetrators with child abuse when they would beat up the parent in front of the child. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is child abuse.
Yeah. It's harmful to
I
the
still
term.
stand
It's
by it.
harmful to the child long term. It's mental
And
anguish.
I remember even saying, how would you feel if you watched your mom or your dad beat the shit out of each other in front of you when you were 5 years old? You're telling me that's not mental abuse of a child? I'm going to tell you, stop doing it.
Okay.
That's as far as I went. He didn't have a reason. He just said,
just
stop doing it.
Yeah.
But long story short, because this is where Shiro is like, hey, I know where your heart's at. I got you.
But
there's other things. And this is where I actually did a show on this and everybody thought I was full of shit about the cost of crime. Because when you charge somebody with, yes. Sorry. That was so long ago, bro. But when you charge somebody with mental or child abuse or mental abuse, they have to bring in like specialists and I was like, so?
Don't beat up your family in front of your children.
Yes, stop doing that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. All right, last question, then we're gonna move on to the next topic. Can technology ever replace good judgment, communication, and experience?
No. Quick answer is no, right? Because
that's my quick answer. No.
Yeah, there's things that cannot be seen or quantified through the technology, right? It's like for people who don't do this, don't interview people, don't talk to people for a living, right? There's kinesics and body language that you can pick up on, right? And you see it that you can't really pick up through a camera, that you can't pick up through a tag reader, that you can't pick up through, like, you can, hey, this person's driving evasively, they're trying to get away from me. You can't pick that up in a tag reader, right? Hey, I got behind them and they started dipping, and every time right, you can't get, it takes a person to articulate certain things. Hey, this person, their hands were clammy, they were looking around, they were evasive in their movements and their body language. They were like, it's hard. That's person to person. You're picking up on these things person to person. You can't really pick that up through a camera. Like even an AI thing's not going to be able to pick that up. Even if it was a fucking robot, you can't pick that up, right?
Yep. I'm going to stand by this. There's very hard things that are hard to generalize because you and I have both felt it. It's hard to articulate when you feel that shift in energy in the room. You're like, don't do it. Nothing's changed, but you feel the energy shift. I stand by this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. When somebody starts getting that bead of sweat on their lip, bro, stress is occurring. So they either already did something or they're about to do something.
Hey, we're about either.
Unless you're running a marathon, me talking to you shouldn't start generating beads of sweat on your upper lip. Should not occur. I would see that, but like, what do you? Don't do what you're about to do.
Hey, we're about to fight or about to run.
Bro, I'm telling you right now, don't do it.
Don't.
I think I'm 100% on that.
Yeah.
You are stressed. You see it. Listen, for those of us listening, this is not a political show. Watch politicians when they start getting stressed out. They're sitting in a chair in an air-conditioned room in a suit. They start getting that bead of sweat on their lip. They're getting stressed out.
If you like people watching people, so if you have the ability to take kinesiology.
Oh, it's so good.
You should look into that. You'll start to pick up on things when people.
Yeah, once you learn it, you can't unlearn. I will say this: once you learn it, you can't unlearn it, and try not to use it on your loved ones. But like me, when I get stressed or angry, my ears get red. There's nothing I can do.
Nothing you can do about it.
Physically, nothing. I can't not do it. Also, the eye dilation when people are lying or in a stressful situation, their pupils will almost pulse. Now, again, there could be a neurological disorder. You could be on drugs. It can be mimicked by that things, but like a standardized thing. But anyway, all that to say, for me, broad brush general, you start getting that bead of sweat on the lip. So they're stressed. Something's happening. They're thinking of something that's stressing them out.
They won't even face you and talk to you. Like, oh,
no.
What's up, man?
Bro, you better don't do it.
Don't.
All right. Oh, you know what? Ah, damn, I already finished it. Congratulations to one of the OG mentor. Can we say
Yes.
his name now that he's out? I don't know. What
Uh,
is he?
is he? Yeah.
That's not his real name, but everyone who knows him knows who he is.
Yeah.
Retired or is retiring. OG,
Congratulations. Yes.
OG mentor. Um, I did my recording, sir.
Yeah.
I did get that done. And I kept it pretty
I can't
professional, but
yeah. Try to
I
keep it
was like,
short.
bro,
Yeah.
he taught us all kinds of lessons, like don't mix bleach and ammonia when you clean in the bathroom. Stuff like that, all the
Yeah.
way I mean, it's unknown how many lives he saved,
Oh yeah.
deputies with the stuff that he would teach you.
Yeah. Lives, careers, personal
And
lives.
then
Yeah.
he was one of the few mentors I've ever had in my life that once you were done, it was basically you're never done.
Yeah.
I could call him right now.
Mhm.
And if he was not in the middle of something with his family, he'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yep.
It, bro, doesn't matter when.
Yeah. All the time. I pop in to him. I pop in and see him all the time. Whenever I'm over where he's at, I always pop in. Doesn't matter even
Yeah.
if it's 5 seconds. I will leave a sticky note on his desk to let him know that I was there. Hey, I popped in to see you. Boom. There you go. Just so he knows. You know what I mean? He's very, very good people. He's like I say, he's helped me tremendously.
Yes.
Professional and personally. A lot of
Mhm.
one of those that you would call unk, right? But uh, uh, uh,
I don't know. You could call him Monk, bro.
you can call him unk, right? But just a plethora of
Yeah.
wisdom and life experience and life knowledge.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of it was like, hey, don't you know, I've run into some things in my career where it's like, hey man, I got venting about this. He's like, you should let that one ride. That one in particular is not the juice ain't worth the squeeze on that. You should let that ride.
Mhm.
Take your lump and just keep moving. Not worth it.
But I've also had he said that to me many times, but
Mhm.
just so people don't think that's what he always says, not true.
Not true.
He'd be like, "Give me a couple hours.
Yeah.
I'll call you
I'll
back."
be back. Yeah. He
Next
does
thing
that a
I
lot.
know, the individual I was having a problem with would be like, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I apologize."
Yeah. There's a lot of that too. Like a lot of
Hey, I don't know
what's
what he
going
said
on?
or what happened,
Yeah.
but he goes, "Just give me a couple hours. Let me figure this
Yeah.
out."
A lot of
Yeah.
lot of that.
Mhm.
Let me
Let me
call
get
you
you
back.
back.
Let me call you
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get a phone call back, and then suddenly things are different than when you called them
Oh,
beforehand. Oh,
everything's okay.
okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations, sir.
Yes. A
Well
job
earned.
well deserved. Well deserved. Very highly
Uh,
so.
he has articulated he will be on the show at some point.
Yeah, I've been waiting to
Ooh,
that's
let's
gonna be good.
go.
That's gonna be good.
He's I don't know how to say top 3 because they're all very important,
Mhm.
but Izzy, Shiro, and Batman, they t a lot of
Yeah.
people imparted the wisdom in our career. Mo, obviously,
Mhm.
but those 3 are like, I don't know. It
Yeah.
feels different when I talk about them or talk to them.
I don't know if we could do a top we'd have to do a Mount Rushmore. We'd have to get 4. We'd have to do 4.
Who's the other one?
That's a good I think the 4 is debatable.
Well, Mo's already on the show.
Yeah.
I'm talking about guest-wise.
That 4 spot is
We'll
that
think
4th
about that,
that 4th spot might be debatable, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot, though. I would
Yeah.
wanna leave I wouldn't wanna X somebody out.
Yeah. Mm.
And again, it's not that I haven't learned because 'cause we've had other people
Oh,
on,
of
I've had
course.
other supervisors, but those are like the OG.
Mhm.
I felt like they gave a shit about us.
Yeah.
They took time out of their
Mhm.
career and sometimes their own personal life
Yeah.
to help us with not just professional, but personal shit.
Mhm. Part of their personal yep,
So that's what I'm saying. They crossed the boundary between professional and personal, but always in like that mentor status. I don't know.
100%.
Congrats, sir. But this is a question for you.
Mhm.
How are today's rookies different from when we entered the profession?
Oof. Um,
Yes, bro.
oof. Right? There's a
In
different
general.
and I think this is a generational thing, right? We're
Yeah.
millennials, right? So we come up in a different time of a lot more self-sufficiency, a lot more not necessarily following rules per se, just for the sake of following rules. Like we ask questions, but we're also like I feel like respected authority a little bit more, right? So not I don't think this younger group is meaning to be disrespectful, but they ask a lot more questions that can
Mm,
come off as challenging, right? So
mm,
for example, a lieutenant will say, "Hey, do something." We come up at a time. We don't question what the lieutenant said. You just do it.
Nope. Yep.
He's a lieutenant. He's done what he's done in his career to get to the place where he's at. Don't question the lieutenant. Just do. Now you can don't question it, especially not to the lieutenant. Now you might go to sarge or corporal and be like, "Hey, what? Why is that? Are we doing that again?" Oh, okay. All right. But this younger group will just ask the lieutenant, "Why are we doing that?" Well, per
Oh,
the ooh,
guys,
uh,
guys.
right? And also they care about different things too, right? So just from what I've noticed, like they don't necessarily 100% care about money, right? They're looking for advancement. They're looking for experience. They're looking for uh, opportunity. They're looking for they value different things than we probably value.
Job satisfaction,
Job
huh?
satisfaction versus like the money. Like we over time, like, hey man, if I know we joke about this all the time. Hey, as long as the check keeps clearing, I'll keep showing up.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
The money's right. This generation is not like that. They're like, oh, I'm not progressing in the next 2 years. Oh, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Or like, for us, you wouldn't even think about being off the street in less than 5 years. Now they're FTOs and very, very quickly. They're um, you know, like they're moving at a lot faster of a pace
Mm.
than we did at our career. This could just be like a shift in this could also just be a shift in like, hey, there's a lot more opportunity, right? Because not a lot of people want to do the job, right? So there is the opportunity to kind of like advance,
Mm.
faster. Like there's not as much competition, maybe. Right? I don't know
Yeah.
the answer, but like I know when we started to even think about doing anything other than being on the road, being on a squad for anything shorter than 5 years was unheard of, uncommon. Now you
Specialty was the only thing I
special,
thought about doing. That was it.
yeah, that was it.
I think I even told you, I was like, "I don't even wanna get promoted, bro," because I was like, I don't want that smoke."
Right? It's just
Yeah.
it's different, actually, especially the people skills, I think is one thing that I've
Mm.
noticed the difference of.
Better or worse? Or
Uh,
different. We can say different, bro. I
just
don't
di
wanna say worse.
just different, right?
Yeah.
We come from again, our generation has been at the inception of a lot of things, right? We've
Yeah.
seen the internet. We were kids when the internet was fresh. We were what,
Mhm.
8, 9, 10 years old? So
Mhm.
we've seen the inception of a lot of these things technology-wise as it's come about. We know that we know a time before a lot of this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
we had to talk to people face to face. We rode our bikes. If you had a problem, we talked about it face to face. We didn't go, it's like, hey, meet me out back. We're gonna handle this kind of thing.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
that. So I think that interpersonal skills are a little bit different, um, just because you know and maybe just the times, of where we're at. But you can definitely see a difference generationally and where like the kind of like the line is with the younger deputies and or police officers. You could definitely see the line where it's different between the young, the middle, and then definitely even there's still even that old guard, if you will, from that's older than us. There's a fine line between that too.
Grouchy. Grouchy
Grouchy.
as fuck, bro. Grouchy as
you
fuck,
know?
bro.
Yep.
Oh, so you a corporal now? You
Yeah.
want me to salute you?
You want me to
Alright,
see?
bro.
All right. Hey.
Alright, bro.
All
Alright,
right.
bro.
Okay.
What strengths do the younger generation bring to law enforcement?
They're excited, man. They're excited.
Wow.
This is
That's
a
actually you can't that's not a small
Listen, bro,
thing.
this is a young man's game, and the ones
Yeah.
that are here, I think for the ones that really, really want to be here, they're excited and their enthusiasm to uh, make a difference and make a change. Like I said, I think a lot of them are not in it for the economics of it, right?
Mhm.
Not saying that we weren't either, right? But it's like sometimes you can tell that they're in it for the right reason. They're very, very excited. They're very like like I said, even with them trying to advance very early on, they are hard charging, trying to like do what they can do to advance and do whatever. And they're not afraid to move around either. Right?
That's crazy,
They're
bro.
not
People
afraid
do
to
not like
bro,
that.
they're not
Yeah.
afraid to move around. Hey, if they don't like it, out of here, gone. I'm going somewhere else. And
Oof.
that's not something that I don't think we really grew
Bro,
up
I
on that.
remember you remember it was a big deal if you wanted to go to a different squad.
Yeah.
The chain of command be like, "So you don't like us now?" It's
Yeah,
like, "Bro, what?
yeah,
No,
what?
I wanna work days. I'm tired of working midnight, bro.
Yeah,
Shit."
yeah. It is vastly different. Yeah. And they're not afraid to
Yeah.
move. They're not afraid to move squads. They're not afraid to move agencies. They're not afraid to move state. They'll pick up and I'll go over here and I'll try this, and I'll go over here and I'll try this. If it don't work, I'll go do something else. So that's one thing I will 100% give them for sure.
What advances or what have you seen? How does the agency bridge generational differences while preserving professionalism and tradition?
Hmm.
Although I will say, I will say it for you. Your new patch is dumb, but we'll move on. I like the original one. You don't have to comment on that, sir. It's
Okay.
dumb. Continue.
Um,
Besides that,
um, repeat the question to me one more time.
how is your agency bridging the gap, the
Mm.
generational differences while preserving professionalism and tradition?
I think
Like the
everybody's.
old heads like to do things a certain way. This is
I
how we've
think
done it forever. New generations coming in with ideas and changes. So,
I think they're involved, right? So both parties are involved. So
mm,
as I guess you say the older guard, the technology is coming. You're gonna have to get with the times,
yeah,
right? Else you're gonna be left behind. You're gonna have to adapt and adjust. And the younger generation is familiar, right? So if you don't want to get left behind, you're gonna have to include them.
yeah.
They have to be included. They have to be involved, or else you're gonna be left by the wayside, right? So you're gonna have to adapt and adjust, and it's a lot easier for the younger group to they've grown up with Instagram, Facebook, and all these other kind of things. Like the technology is not they pick it up so quick, so fast that you're like, oh, I got this, I got that. Where it's like guy who's been there for 30 years, who's
Yeah.
was able to like smoke a cigar on duty. It's like, wait, what is this now? I gotta do this thing and I gotta do that. Like you,
Crypto.
what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Let me ask you this. This was not, I want to get to the rapid fire questions, but let me ask you this because
hmm
I experienced this with the Secret Service, but it just popped in my head with what you were talking about with the
hmm
technology. When I was with the Secret Service, I met an individual who was beyond comparison. Anything anyone I've ever met when it comes to computers and hacking and forensics.
hmm
His abilities were and still are wildly disproportionate than anyone I've ever met,
hmm
right? So you hear but he's a new agent. He comes with all this the stuff he was doing is wild. I
hmm
don't wanna necessarily get into it. We talk about it off camera, but the abilities he had was unfucking believable. But because he's a new agent, nobody gave a shit.
hmm
It's like, "Hey, you still gotta go stand post, guard that stairwell." It's like, do you understand the untapped resource that you have right here? And that you're just saying, nah, I'm not going to treat him any different than anyone else.
Well, I think there's
I understand, but
yeah.
this is like beyond the pale, bro. Like,
hmm
I don't know. I don't have a comparison to just treat him like all the others. And guess what? He eventually ended up, boop, he left. And now he's now teaching all of their people
hmm
forensics and all, as a contractor. I mean, now he's getting paid 2, 3 times more than what he was making.
hmm
And because he's like, "No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
This is my passion.
the
I
move.
wanted to help you with law enforcement wise, but you didn't want it. You wanted me to go sit in a stairwell by a garbage can. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to move here, like to your point, I'm going to
hmm
move here, and now I'm now teaching your people how to do.
Yeah, they're
You're
not afraid.
paying me a lot of money."
They're not afraid, bro. They're not afraid.
So my question is, let's say you have a fresh faced young deputy, but I'm talking like one in 1,000
hmm
skill set. We'll keep it with technology.
hmm
Do you see any space or movement in the agency where they'd allow him to do that, or him or her? Or you're gonna be a deputy like everyone else and move through the ranks like everyone else? You're gonna
Oh,
put your time in.
you're definitely gonna do that. And here's the reason why.
Ah,
You need to be well rounded, right? So you can't. There
okay.
is no, hey, off the street, you're fucking, criminal hacking whiz kid. No, because you still have to. It makes it without the
Go
other
ahead.
part, without the other part of it, you're not going to be well rounded, right? So there's things that are well seasoned, and like I said, we just kind of to the point of like, hey, there's things
Mhm.
that the human element, technology won't account for that. right? So
Yeah.
you knowing how to do the job from the street, interact with people, do whatever is only going to make you better, right? So you're gonna need that base. Everybody needs the base. Everybody needs that base of the street in
Mhm.
order to kind of be more well rounded. This is one thing I will say. I will say that even you're here, like there's movement here, and it's usually to make you more well rounded. A little bit of this, a little bit of this. Try this out. Try this out. So when you're at a higher level, you have a better scope of knowing what everybody does, being in certain sections, right? Without that, you're making decisions based off of just this part of what you know, and not that's beneficial to everything as a whole, right? Uh, so kind of like if you're the manager of fucking McDonald's, you should know how to work the fries. You should know how to do this. You should know how. It's only going to make you better as an overall, right? Because I know how these things are supposed to work, and now I can
Mhm.
kind of give my guidance and make these things better based off of what is my strength, but I need the basis of knowing everything in order to do that in a better sense.
Well answered. Ready for rapid fire? Respect your time, buddy.
Right.
Biggest lesson policing taught you?
Life is short.
One misconception the public has about police? Oh, so many, but one of
One.
pick one.
Ooh. Uh, that cops hate people.
That's a great one. One leadership trait every officer should develop?
Humanity.
Final question. If one officer hears this conversation today and needs encouragement, what would you tell them?
Do the right thing. Treat people like it's your family, and move with grace and compassion.
Well said, my friend. Appreciate you, brother.
Always, brother.